For this video, we are going to be changing the oil in a 2012 Nissan Versa. We are going to be using Royal Purple 5W30 and a Royal Purple oil filter 102876. This vehicle has a capacity of 3.5 quarts. The first thing you want to do is jack up the vehicle, making sure that the jack stands are in a secure position and the vehicle is firmly in place before you crawl underneath it. Alright, so one thing that I make sure that I do, I learned this a long time ago, is when you go to do any oil change, you want to make sure you take off the oil cap. But what I do is I stick it on top of the latch located right here, so that in case I ever forget to put in oil and I shut my hood to leave, I will actually snap and break the oil cap, which is actually a whole lot better than blowing my motor because I drove it without oil in it. Alright, so now that we are underneath the vehicle, what you want to do is set yourself up in a position to where you can get your oil pan underneath the oil drain plug located right here. With this plug, it's going to be a 14 millimeter ratchet that you're going to need in order to get that off. So all we're going to do is loosen this thing up. Once it's loose, start working with our fingers. Now, a little trick is once you're unscrewing this, keep pushing pressure in towards it. That'll prevent a lot of the oil from coming out. When you start feeling it clicking, and I'll see if I can get on the sound. See, it's loose right there. It's barely leaking, so now all I'm going to do is just remove the bolt really quick and watch it flow out. With that, you get very minimal oil on you, and you can set that down in your pan to drain. Alright, so now that the oil is draining, the next step you want to do is slide your oil pan just a little bit forward so that you can get the oil filter out at the same time. Since it's going to take a little bit for your oil to actually fully drain out to get all the new stuff in there, this is a good time to remove this. And with this one, you can just loosen it up a little bit, let it drain out some. While it's draining, it'll eventually slow down. And that's indicating that most of the oil is out of the oil filter. So then you just continue removing it little by little. You're going to feel it start to get a little wobbly towards the end, which you can kind of see it's getting more wobbly. And then remove it. Place it upside down in your oil pan to let the rest of the oil drain out of it before you throw it away. Alright, so now that that oil filter is off, the most important thing to check for is that the O-ring is not stuck on this ledge right here. You'll want to check your filter to make sure that it's actually on there, because what can happen is if somebody didn't lube up the O-ring on the oil filter, it will actually stick to there, and when you screw on your new oil filter not thinking, you're actually going to cause a gap, and when that gets pressurized, it's just going to shoot oil everywhere. So now that you have double checked that, you're going to lube up your O-ring on your Royal Purple 102876 oil filter and then screw it into place. Now, a little tip is you do not want to turn the oil filter on so tight that it will barely come off the next time you go to use it. No matter how tight you put it on, it's going to be even tighter when you go to remove it. One of the last things that you need to do on the bottom is put the drain plug back into it. Now you want to use caution when tightening the drain plug. If your engine is hot, you can very easily strip this plug out. So just get it nice and finger tight and then put a decent amount of pressure on. You just don't want to have a long wrench or a ratchet that you are cranking down on. You just want to make sure that it's tight and wipe off any excess oil on the bottom of the pan. That way you can verify if it's leaking down the road. So now that everything is taken care of underneath, the last thing to do is to add the oil into the top half of the engine. So my oil of choice is going to be Royal Purple. And you're going to add 3.5 quarts in. You can get this stuff real cheap on Amazon. Alright, so the next thing that we need to do is put the oil cap on, since we filled the engine with oil, and start the engine. So to test the oil, all you're going to do is pull the yellow dipstick out. And you're going to wipe it off. Once you wipe it off, just stick it back in real quick, and then pull it back out. You can test the oil level and see that it is within limitations, and you are good to go.